All right, guys, welcome back to the ALGS channel. Hope you guys are all doing well and having a great day so far. I'm gonna try my best to do everything in one take today. It's so much easier to edit when that's the case, so we'll see if I'm able to do it. So plenty to dive into, plenty to discuss. Big Apex pros in the scene today that we're discussing regarding organizations leaving, because another one did just leave. Not quite as big of an organization, but definitely still one to follow. And some big names like Xset Nocturnal, I'm Madness, getting to some disputes online regarding why they're leaving and what the true motive is. I actually thought this conversation was pretty interesting. And then also some of the roster changes that we have here, not roster changes, but like roster compositions with controller players and mouse and keyboard players. A Respawn developer actually came looking. It was interesting to see like why some of these teams were running different compositions with their controller, mouse, and keyboard. This kind of made me think that they were interested to look to maybe see if they need to make some changes to controller. Plenty to dive into and discuss, and even a pro player saying that they have not been paid for ALGS for last year from Champs and Sweden as well. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you guys want to stay up to date, all things Apex Legends esports related. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into this. First thing that I wanted to mention here, you guys can see on screen right now, Leave No Witness has decided to part ways with the Apex scene. So basically, I Am Shrink tagged me this as another org, leaves here, unfortunately. And their message says, today it's time to separate directions with the cracks that accompanied us with this wonderful adventure. With all of our hearts, we thank you and best of the future, basically. Now, I'm not really sure if they're departing with this roster or departing away from Apex Legends entirely. It's kind of hard to tell. However, it is worthy to note that shortly after this happened, and especially with the Cloud9 stuff leaving and all these organizations in the past, SSG as well, I'm Madness put out this massive thread regarding orgs leaving Apex due to lack of support from Respawn. I actually think it's a lack of support from EA, not necessarily Respawn, but also saying hashtag save Apex comp. You guys know, I mean, if you're watching the scene, you know that a lot of these teams have been leaving lately. Now, he goes in this massive twit longer with all of this stuff, but Xset Nocturnal made a response here and said, stop speaking on behalf of orgs that you clearly have no idea what actually happened. It's getting old. None of these orgs that you listed left because of this change, maybe IG at most. Now, it's kind of weird that he said this because I don't really know. Like, I normally don't agree with I'm Madness. You know, Madness is kind of like the his Watson villain of always starting drama. I actually like his Watson a little bit more, though. But Madness is always starting stuff. But I can always, I guess, respect that he's himself. I guess he has no filter about that. But he also said, I said previously on the Timeline situation or Team Liquid situation, that could have been different, but every other org in some way or another has publicly spoken that the rev shares are the reason that they left the scene, or at least the main reason here. I don't know what I did to tick you off, but I'm not talking out of the sand. It's all public knowledge here. And like I said, I don't normally agree with Madness, but he's 1000% right. I don't know what Nocturnal is talking about. All of these teams have made it very, very clear that they left because of a lack of rev share or funding from Apex Legends itself, and we'll get to that in just a second. Nocturnal did respond here and said Team Liquid invested millions into League of Legends. Space Station invested a ton of money into Halo, but they both left over 60K. LOL. Yeah, dude, for sure. And then Madness also said, or both companies saw that Respawn grossed 8 million for ALGS prize pool crowdfunding and knew that they could make 10x times 60,000 over time with rev share versus one-off deal. Now, this is what I really wanted to share here. So, Nocturnal and Madness go on this long rant, and I kind of wanted to make mention of this. SSG, like we saw the Cloud9 statement, and basically, some of the people calling out EA and Respawn for not properly handling the scene with a proper, revenue share and revenue split and all that stuff. So I'm kind of confused as to like how Nocturnal missed this maybe or something, but there's like plenty of like examples of this. Like even the CEO of Space Station like literally flat out said that that's kind of the reason that they left, saying we're going to miss the Apex Legends team, watching our team compete. It's really one of the most entertaining esports. Unfortunately, how esports market is currently, without a fair revenue share of a split here, it's not going to help with sustainability. It's hard to justify to continue investing. Even Jayhawk said, hypothetically, if a revenue share ever happened in the future, do you think SSG would consider coming back? And they said yes. So it's very obvious that a lot of these teams are leaving because of the lack of revenue share and EA not helping the fund. So like I said, I don't really know how that was misunderstood or misinterpreted, but Nocturnal did go on a thread as well and said a super special PSA about Apex Legends. Blaming mindlessly off of word of mouth comments and directing hate towards people instead of going to help anything. Here's the thread. the average ROI, and I actually do agree with what Nocturnal has to say here, basically saying the average ROI is based upon the players and not necessarily, the winnings that you get from tournaments and stuff like this. It also goes on to say that obviously TSM, NRG, and Alliance are like the only ones doing a good job at really like uplifting the brand of the players, because obviously Sweet Dreams, Hal is a massive person. You've got, Alliance doing a good job, especially like with the latest LAN. Alliance really popped off their popularity having Mandy on the team. And then also, going on to say that these are teams that actually invested into their teams and survived the EA partnership deal and have been in the game since day one. I agree. I think that's the route. Like, teams didn't realize, like, look, you can't. I agree that EA maybe should have a rev share split, something along those lines. But also, you've got to do your part of sustaining yourself. You got to invest in yourself and, make some content, make people really I guess want to watch you and support your journey through all of this. You shouldn't really expect EA to kind of like do it all for you, I guess, even though they probably should be doing a little more. I don't know. It's kind of a sticky situation. But also said teams will come and go because they bite off more that they can chew. Too much salary for a little ROI. And I don't disagree. I mean, we're paying pro players too much, and they're not providing enough ROI. It's not that these players don't deserve a good income. It's just the fact that they're not bringing much to the table like they think they are a lot of times, especially in the battle royale scene. And we'll talk more about that in just a second. You can't really change the system if they don't want to. Trust me, positive and constructive feedback goes a long way, but sending mindless hate just doesn't do anyone good, and basically tag some people as well. So I also agree with what Nocturnal had to say here. I mean, I think he makes a lot of good points. I think one of the biggest things here is because it is a battle royale, it also hurts the situation of making players have a bigger brand, if that makes sense. Like when you look at Call of Duty, there's not that many pros, so therefore the pros really get heard and they really have their name known. But in Apex Legends, there's so many people that are playing at a high level, and you got 60 people in one pro match, and that's not even all the pros. You've got way too many pros, and it kind of makes it hard to build your brand unless you are in one of the T1 orgs like the TSM. Or if you're not one of those, guess who else is a big name that people look out for? The content creators. If Lemonhead or Timmy or any one of those people like just kind of popped into a stream or in one of the pro games, people would probably support them a little bit because they're an underdog. They're a content creator. They have a brand themselves. But whenever you're, 19-year-old so-and-so and you've won some tournaments and you get picked up from an org and then they have to drop you because you're not making any content, you're not a good ROI for them. And I think players have got to get back to the basics before COVID hit and all of this stuff, when people thought that, brand deals were so big and we were making so much money, all that stuff was going on. Back to the basics now. You've got to start streaming. You've got to start building your own brand. You've got to make yourself someone that people like to watch or want to root for, because you've got to be a good ROI for these teams as well. Obviously, EA could be doing some more. I agree, but I think Nocturnal hit the nail on the head here. I mean, it's just absolutely perfect. People have got to start investing in themselves, because otherwise teams just can't afford to pay those salaries. And then also wanted to make mention this, though. That was kind of like an awkward ending that I just hit right there. But he did tag someone. I guess this is the best way to put it. He did tag someone here that was basically Zach Conley, and I think it's maybe Conley. I don't know what it is. However, you guys see that Nocturnal tagged him here at the very end, basically saying, would love to hear some of the feedback from these guys as well. So there's actually a big Twitter post that got 1,500 likes from Cutnoid. ALGS reporter said, "Did you know that 100 Thieves is the last full mouse and keyboard team left in the North American Pro League?" And this was status courtesy of Oven as well. So someone goes on a rant basically saying, how does this make sense? Doesn't make sense at all. So here's the actual like dialed down stats here. 43% of teams in the North American Pro League have one roller on their team. 36% have two rollers on their team. 13% have three rollers on their team. Only 3%, which is one team, has zero rollers on their team. So all mouse and keyboard, and that is 100 Thieves. And I told you guys right when ALGS was over that I feel like they need to make a change, because you got to have a roller on your team. We see EXO, actually tweeting, hey, we're looking for a controller player. People know that it's that important. And then also you had this guy, the Zach Conley, EA Respawn Apex Legends Esports League Ops Manager. So this guy's running a lot of the ALGS stuff, or like the, I guess the format and the whole system and whatnot. And this, I guess it sparked his interest here. He actually said, where do you get all this information from of who plays on what input? Now, obviously, Liquipedia is a great place to do that, But why would he be interested in knowing? I wonder if Respawn is planning to take a look at this, and we already know that they're apparently doing another temperature check and all of this stuff as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if they really want to start looking at all of these stats to see who's playing on what input, and maybe whether or not there's some red flags. Like, hey, we don't, because they've already stated in the past that we don't want to see teams purposely switch inputs because they feel like it's a necessity in order to stay relevant. So kind of unfortunate to see, maybe for some of you controller players, maybe a possible, it is, you know, a deep dive. That is a rabbit hole. That is definitely a stretch, but possibly a little bit of a, I guess, nerf coming to the controllers potentially in the future. Definitely something to look out for. Let me know what you guys think about that. Lastly, I wanted to mention here, just as we close out the video, Dark Zero's Cloud9 made this statement just yesterday. And this was actually, I think it was, it was last night. And I thought this was a little concerning for sure. Sweden ALGS was April 29th, 2022. Chat, that's almost, chat, I just called you guys chat. That's embarrassing. That's almost a year ago, though. I mean, that is literally about 2 months away from being a year. And he said, I'm still trying to get paid for it. That is, you know, that's obviously a joke. And last year's ALGS champs as well. So, like, you know, July 2022. These guys still have not been paid their prize their prize pool money after all of this. But Inhuman also said this is supposed to be payouts in 3 months, apparently. So I don't know why all of this stuff is not being paid out. This is kind of embarrassing for EA, but I mean, at the end of the day, are you really surprised? So interesting stuff to see nonetheless. I want to say that maybe 3 months ago there was someone who complained about not receiving their prize, and then like right after that tweet went viral, they got paid for it like the next week. I don't really know who it was. Again, it's been quite some time, but interested to see what you guys think down in the comment section below. Make sure to like the video if you guys did enjoy, and subscribe to the channel if you guys want to stay up to date all things Apex Legends esports related. And until the next time, I'll see you later, Gators.